We're getting new information here at CBS News 24/7 Prime Time. I want to bring in Anna Schecter, senior producer at the CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit. And I know that you have some information from Kash Patel.
Yes, he just posted on X that the person of interest that FBI was questioning has now been released. So, yet another twist to this confusing afternoon. We've had a lot of conflicting information over the last few hours. There was an individual arrested. Initially, that person was released. It appeared that the FBI and authorities were saying that a second person of interest was being questioned. That is our understanding, according to the information that's been made public by law enforcement. Kash Patel jumped the gun about 10 minutes prior to a law enforcement press conference about an hour ago, saying that a suspect was in custody. Now walking that back. So, is there an active manhunt? On our screen, we're seeing SWAT teams out walking around. This has really been a challenging environment for law enforcement, and they don't appear to have been ready for this type of an event. Clearly, they had a small number of resources covering the event, and then in the immediate aftermath, it's unclear if they know who the suspect is. So, very strange series of events in the wake of this horrific targeted, brutal attack that left Charlie Kirk dead. You saw that gunshot fired. Our experts that we're talking to say likely about 100 to 200 meters away. The school told us they believe they know from which building the shot was fired. Law enforcement tell us they believe the shot was fired from the roof. I've been reviewing footage. I do see footage of an individual running on the roof, but we don't know if that was the shooter. So lots of questions remaining there on the scene.
Yeah, absolutely, Anna. And if we kind of backtrack, initial reports said that there was a person in custody. That was within the hour of the shooting. And then just recent reports saying that that person had been released and that there was a person of interest being questioned. So at this point, where do things stand? There is no suspect. There is no one in custody, correct?
That's right. At this point, we do not have any information to lead us to believe that there is a suspect, that they even know the identification of the shooter. This is a very weak position for law enforcement to be in hours after the attack. Every minute that passes by gives a suspect who could be on the run more time to get further away from the scene. What's heartening is that there is a lot of surveillance cameras around the area, like really anywhere. And it just takes time for law enforcement to recover that footage, go through it. It's painstaking work. Of course, they're going to put every agent on it. But what's interesting about this event, it really caught everyone off guard. And this is a person who was one of their own, an associate of Kash Patel, very tight with Donald Trump. I think the shock and the mourning seems to have affected the way this is all playing out. We were seeing a release from Kash Patel that likely went out too soon, talking about a suspect in custody. Now we're hearing that it was a person of interest who was released already. Very confusing, not a organized effort in terms of keeping the public informed about where law enforcement was in terms of the investigation.
And I can't help but wonder, I know that there's a lot of surveillance video, but I just wonder about the security and manpower that was physically there. And I do find it interesting that this was a conservative speaker. There was a lot of talk prior to him coming, some talk that people didn't want him there. So I'm curious where that security was in the lineup of things for this particular event.
It's a great question. So Charlie Kirk does have his own security team, a relatively small team, but there were people around him in the immediate area around him who worked directly for him, and they likely coordinated with the university in advance in some capacity. They, picked the location. They coordinated on a time for people to come and set up. They probably also coordinated with student leaders at Turning Point USA at the university who invited Kirk to attend. So I'm sure there were conversations about that. Now, there were about a half dozen local police who were also present, according to law enforcement. There were more than 3,000 people potentially that attended the event. So that woefully understaffed is how I would describe that. If there were, in fact, only a handful, even if there were a dozen police officers, for that many people, that's really not enough because, when you draw a crowd like that in the open air and it's warm outside, things happen. People need help. People need first responders. My instinct is that Kirk thought, okay, I'm being invited by this student group. I founded this 12 years ago. There was a level of comfort thinking that he was speaking to a friendly crowd. And by all accounts, if you look there, he was. There was chatter online, discussion, controversy around the event, but he's used to that and he invites that. That was his whole modus operandi, was to invite vociferous debate, even controversy around himself, and he was comfortable with that. Unfortunately, it appears that the organizers really miscalculated how much police presence they needed. But I would also say, in law enforcement's defense, to secure a location like this in the wide open where anybody can walk in on campus, even if they had metal detectors, that would have been much better, but it's very challenging to secure an area like this against a lone wolf operator.
Yeah, very much so. All right, Anna Schecter. Anna, thank you so much.